My name is Jeff Morgan. I'm with Cornelius Shackelford. Cornelius, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Unfortunately, under the circumstances, not the best. I saw your video last week. My heart was broken for you. Cornelius has had his children over from 2019. He had them about 10 months during the year. And due to a judge's decree, the judge basically ripped them out of his home and put them back with their mother. Tell me about your relationship with both the mother or the children, or whatever you want to.
Okay. So my relationship with the mom has been, pretty cordial over the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. And so, I've been, for a while, they were living with her, mm-hmm. and I would get them every single weekend. So I would drive down 2 hours there, mm-hmm. spend a little time picking everybody up, 3 different schools.
Right. Yeah.
and then I drive back. So I dedicate 5 hours out of my day every Friday. Okay. I get them the whole entire summer. Okay. So 2018, same thing. Get them the entire summer. And she calls me and says, what do you think about them coming to live with you full time? I said, absolutely. That's that's what I've always wanted anyway. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's a father's dream. Yeah. And so she said, okay, well, it's kind of an emotional topic for me. Let's finish the summer out, and then we'll revisit it in the summer. And so I was like, okay, fine. And so end of the summer comes. She was like, well, I'm not ready yet. And I was like, okay, cool. And so September rolls around. She asked me, can I take my youngest son by himself? Yeah. She had a hard time with my youngest son, Jackson. So she was like, can you take him by himself? And I was like, absolutely not. I'm not separating them. My boys are 14 months apart. Right, and they've lived their whole lives together. Yeah. And, they kind of feed off each other. I mean, if one's away from the other one, they're both sad. Yeah. And so I told her no, and we argued about that for about an hour through text. And she pretty much told me to, take a hike. Take a hike. Yeah, right. The nice way of putting it. Yeah. That was in September when she asked me to take Jackson. And then in October, she finally calls me. She's like, okay, you can have them both. Okay. So October comes, and I'm excited, right? So I take both of them, and everything's going great. Yeah. In school, then the New Year comes along. I end up having a trip to Salt Lake City, Utah in February. Business trip, and so I asked her, could she watch my youngest son, Jackson? Yeah. And she was like, yeah, just for 1 week, because Jackson wasn't in school yet. He was staying at home with me every day. Yeah. Just getting that one-on-one time with me. Yeah. And so when I was gone, she was supposed to meet my fiance to pick up CJ, mm-hmm. my Cornelius Jr. And so she neglected to pick him up. And so CJ was excited about this dance he wanted to go to, which I had already told him he couldn't go to because he was going to his mom's. Yeah. He wanted to go, and she didn't come get him. And I told my fiance, well, just make sure he has fun, right? Yeah. I don't want him thinking, about his dad in Utah and his mom not coming to get him. Yeah. And so she takes him to the dance. Yeah. His mom finds out about it, and she's livid. Yeah. Right. And so she throws a fit. Usually, when she doesn't get her way, she's like, oh, we're going to go by the papers. I run this. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Stuff like that, right? And in March, I sent him to her for spring break. I'm thinking everything's cooled down. So I sent him to her for spring break, and she refuses to send him back. Yeah. So the whole thing here, and let me backtrack a little bit mm-hmm. here. So you're up in Utah. What were you doing up in Utah? And I mean, what really impressed me was some of the things that you said about how you have now restructured your life to be a father who can be with your children, as far as even your career choices and everything else. So if you want to go into a little bit of that background, because you used to be an oil field worker. Yes, sir. I used to work in an oil field, and spent a lot of time away from my kids, and that was kind of the driving force for me becoming an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or 15 days on, 1 day off. You just don't get a lot of family time. Right. And so I kind of restructured my whole life, and I built the athletic training program mm-hmm. because I have 2 sons, and they start taking sports. When they was 1 and 2, they was like always picking up some kind of ball. Yeah. And so I turned a sports training facility. Like I just took a whole program and built it. Wow. Specifically for my sons, but of course I touch so many more lives now. Right. And it's only because I have 2 sons. But so I was up in Salt Lake City for a leadership conference. Yeah. Just kind of growing myself and kind of growing my way of thinking. You can always, learn from other people.
Right.
The only way to, in my opinion, the only way to learn something that you don't know is to get around somebody who knows it.
Yeah.
And so I was, trying to grow, myself and kind of plan that trip, just so I can get up there and kind of learn some new things and kind of bring it back to our area. Because you go up to Salt Lake City. I mean, you rub shoulders with some people. You never meet otherwise.
Right.
And so that's why I was up there. But so I've built a life to where I can have every moment with them, and that's really what it was all about. I really despised being away from my kids.
Right.
8 hours away.
Yeah.
And on a good week, 8 hours away.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it all came from with that.
Yeah. So again, so you're a person who wanted to structure your whole life around your children so that you could be there for them. You're not the deadbeat dad.
Absolutely not. Like I didn't have a dad, so I knew what type of father I was going to be when I was 10 years old.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you didn't have a dad, so your parents were not together then, but you met your dad later on in life. Is that correct?
Yes, I met my dad when I was 19 years old, when I was in college, doing well in sports. So
can I ask you, this is a little bit off topic, but how was that meeting? Because I mean, here he's not been in your life for the whole 19 years, or how long was that he was not in your life?
Yeah, the whole 19 years.
Whole 19 years.
I'd never seen his face.
Okay. So how was that to meet your dad after that time?
It was very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
As a young teenage boy, I had a lot of strong feelings. I won't say hate, but I had developed. There was a time in life where I needed it.
Right.
I felt like that I needed that relationship, and I would find myself wondering as a kid, like, what would my life be like if I had a dad?
If you had a dad. So, and I think that's a very interesting point that you're talking about, because you said that at 10 years of age, you knew what kind of a father you wanted to be, partly because of what you experienced it. Because you did not have a dad, you wanted to make sure that as a dad, you were with your kids.
Absolutely.
Part of that was influenced because your father wasn't there. And as you mentioned, from 10 to 19, you had these strong feelings with your father not being there. Do you think that the state often as well creates that environment? This feeling of, with children, like, where's my father? Because the state, in issues of divorce, or when something happens between the mother and the father, the state often makes one of the individuals a visitor to that child's life.
Absolutely.
And I think what I heard you saying is that here you are, a full-time dad, because basically the mother said, take the children.
Right.
So you had them, 10 months during 2019?
Yes, sir.
And then you went up to a court, and a judge said, we're taking the kids from you.
Absolutely.
And did they find anything wrong with you? Did they find that, Cornelius, sorry, but you're not a good dad?
No, sir.
Did they find something that said, Cornelius, even though you're an okay dad, maybe even a good dad, the mother's a better mother?
They couldn't find anything, and they spent most of the time defending her actions. Mm-hmm. And they pretty much turned it into a child support hearing.
A child support hearing. Yeah. So, and that's very interesting, because in the Texas Family Code, it's in the Texas Family Code 2.201.107, subsection C, they say that judges are supposed to make rulings that will maximize Title IV funds of the state. Now, the thing about the Texas Family Code is that they talk about the best interest of the child 140 times. Not once do they define the best interest of the child, but yet in 201.107C, it says that the judges should rule in such a manner that would maximize Title IV funding. So what they're actually saying is, in the situation, because right now you're paying child support, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
So you're paying child support, and the judges are under a mandate from this Texas Family Court to rule in such a way that the state can make more money off of the trauma that your children are now experiencing with you not being in their lives. Are you familiar with that?
No.
So this is what's actually taking place. This whole thing, you mentioned the child support, it became a child support hearing. There are federal programs in place that when the state of Texas puts child support orders out there, everything must run through the Attorney General's office, and you have to pay the Attorney General. Is that correct?
Correct.
You can't just pay the mother directly. You have to go through a certain office.
Correct.
And the reason that is the case is because they collect federal money. They are making money off of this separation. They're making money off of this child support. So often what happens, and I'm not saying that it happens in every instance, but the judge is under a mandate to say, this is what you are supposed to do. You are supposed to make decisions that will maximize Title 4D funds. And Title 4D funds become a lot, and I'm talking millions and millions of dollars to the state every single year.
I bet.
So, I mean, how does that make you feel?
It makes me livid. I mean, it's just ridiculous because, like, we were there to determine, where the kids were safe.
Right.
Where the kids, had a life, where they went to school, and the stability of them going back to their mother.
Right.
And the focus became, he hasn't paid her child support in 2 years.
Even though they've been living with you.
Absolutely. And,
yes.
I was like, well, they're living with me.
Yeah.
Why should I pay her child support when she's not taking care of the kids?
Right.
So why should I pay her for her to go drink and party and do all the recreational stuff that she does that has her in the situation in the first place?